It's time for another episode of the Room for Improvement podcast. Aren't you proud of us? We didn't say welcome into the Room for Improvement podcast. I am Josh Savadell. Sitting across from me is Sebastian Posey. Sebastian, how are you today?
I'm a little taken aback. I feel like we're about to start a kids program with that. I'm looking for like the Play-Doh and the building blocks.
Unfortunately, I do not have the Play-Doh on me at the time, or right now. I have some at home.
So you're saying there's building blocks though, because you only said Play-Doh.
Oh goodness! Ooh goodness! No, I don't have any building blocks. I'm not doing very well at the moment. I had
by the way, Josh, how are you doing today?
Oh, okay, thank you. I was just going to offer up that information. I had a rather unenjoyable Taco Bell session about approximately 15 minutes ago, and the worst part about the worst moment of all, going through drive-thru at Taco Bell, is the moment when you get up to the place where you place your order, and you know you shouldn't be there, but you're already at Taco Bell, so you know you don't have the self-control to tell yourself to just drive off. You're already there. You know you shouldn't be there, but you can't just drive off. That's the worst moment.
You have this conversation with yourself like every day, though.
Every day.
You're like their biggest customer.
It's an internal struggle of mine. I want to go to Taco Bell because I like the way some of their food tastes. I also don't want to go to Taco Bell because I like the way some of their food tastes, if that makes sense.
In a weird way.
Yeah, there's some foods that you can eat that you like, but at the same time, you are grossed out by. Right?
Yeah.
Hot dogs are another one for me. I like hot dogs, but when I eat a hot dog, I'm like, oh, why did I do this?
Well, that's why you have the condiments. It buries the actual...
Well, I put ketchup on my hot dog. Am I a weirdo for that?
You're weird. That's weird.
We've had this discussion on Twitter before with a lot of people about putting ketchup on hot dogs. And
mustard. You got to go mustard.
See, I just think telling somebody what they should and should not put on their hot dog is kind of weird.
I'm not going to stop you from putting ketchup on it. I'm just saying, hypothetically, if there's a hot dog in the middle of the room and we're trying to put specific condiments on it, I would immediately say go mustard.
Okay, go mustard.
Woohoo! The fighting seeds.
Oh my goodness. That's not exactly what I think you were going for there. But yeah, anyways, I've had a pretty bad Taco Bell session within the past 30 minutes. Last time I was there, I ordered a quesarito, their new hot item. And I have this thing where I get their chipotle sauce taken off of it and their jalapeno sauce that they put on their quesadillas on the quesarito. Makes them amazing. But I hate sour cream, and I told them not to put sour cream on that. I asked nicely. I didn't tell them. And lo and behold, I had sour cream on my quesarito, and I ate one bite of it, and I think I may have given it to you.
You did. It was actually really good. I enjoyed it. I like sour cream on my quesaritos.
Well, today I ordered the same thing, and they managed to mess it up again. They didn't put sour cream on it, but guess what they did? They just threw a ton of jalapenos in there, mixed in with the steak and the rice, and so I couldn't sift through them. I just had to eat them, and that's not what I asked for.
First world problems.
Yes,
By the way, if
we're sending this to Taco Bell on Twitter, we're going to ask them to listen to the first 5 minutes. This is a problem that has to be fixed.
But we love your product.
At times.
At times. I was thinking about this throughout your dilemma of outside the boxness, and what if mustard was a university and they were the seeds, would their mascot be Musty the mustard seed?
Oh my goodness. No, probably not. Probably not. Speaking of universities, there are a couple of universities in this state.
That's an accidental segue.
Accidental segue, but I appreciate it. That started fall camp. Football is just around the corner. I think a couple weeks ago we may have done a podcast talking about SEC Media Days. I think it may have been approaching at that point, and it has come and gone. And
did it?
Yeah, I did.
Oh man,
I was there, and you were only there for a little bit. And now fall camp is open. Alabama was on the practice field, I believe today. I believe Auburn may have been on the practice field. Yesterday, and maybe today.
I believe you were right on both of those.
Good.
And since we actually aren't saying what day we're recording this,
You guys can figure it out.
Yeah.
Alabama, the big talk there is who's going to start at quarterback. Blake Sims is said to be in contention with this new quarterback that came in, transferred in from Florida State, Jacob Coker.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him. Well, maybe you should do something like read the news.
Has anyone talked about him? I don't think I've read anything about Jacob Coker.
Wow.
Is he any good?
Can you read?
No.
Okay.
Like, I can read a few words, and even that's stretching it.
How did you get your job?
I had a lot of extra Starbucks gift cards, and I gave them to people.
Okay.
I think I just indicted someone on this.
All right, well, we'll be sure to edit that out. But anyways, Alabama and Auburn have taken the figurative
Practice reps.
Yeah, they're practicing for the upcoming season. Nick Marshall will be suspended, I believe, for the first half of the season.
Is it the first half?
I believe it was first. It was the first something.
I thought you were saying the first game.
No.
Because Bielema came out saying he wants to beat Marshall.
Nick Marshall. Let's do the Googling. Like I said before, we have not had a podcast here where we haven't had an interview.
Did you say that? I don't think we even said that.
Well,
You immediately went to your, Taco Bell saga. You said, you have an outline sitting in front of you, and you're like, you know what outline? I'm going to push you to the side because I have a story to tell about my drive-through dilemma.
It plagued me tonight, okay? I was having a really good day. I went to and got my car tags, and I was out within 30 minutes. I was having a good day.
So you tried to reward yourself with your favorite snack?
Yeah, favorite-ish snack.
Say ish. You have it every day.
Okay, fine. And so, yeah, that happened. He's suspended. He will not start against.
Is that all it says? He won't. What does that literally mean? He'll come in the next series?
I don't. Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness. But back to what we were saying about Jacob Coker.
Who?
Oh, my gosh. Is
he going to play Musty?
Oh, my gosh. You're making this impossible.
Sorry.
He is supposed to be the guy who is fit for this quarterback position to replace A.J. McCarron, who is now behind a really, really rich quarterback in Cincinnati.
Okay, kind of rich. Everyone's looking at that deal going, wow, it's $115 million.
But still,
yeah,
figure-wise, oh, yeah.
The words Andy Dalton and $115 million should not be put together in the same sentence.
Jacob and Blake going to be fighting for the position. Do you see Blake being in a position to where, and Coach Saban, I believe, alluded to it during SEC Media Days, that they're not opposed to using a two-quarterback system, although they would like to have one quarterback. Do you see that being a situation this year, or do you think Jacob Coker comes in, wins the position, and takes over?
I think we're literally just having a repeat of 2011. We had the exact same thing happen with A.J. McCarron and Phillip Sims, where there was never a starter named. They actually went into the first game where I think both guys played a half or something like that. He would not name a starter, and I think it wasn't until the second game
was that San Jose State?
No, San Jose State was 2010. I think 2011 was, I don't remember. Because I was at the San Jose State game. And that was still when Julio was there, so it wasn't them. But
working in the skyboxes that game.
Nice. It was actually on the field thing. It was nice. Sorry, again, we're just going off. We need a little bell every time we start going off topic. But I think it's mimicking that very much. Just that I don't think Saban, and honestly, why would you? I feel like if you're getting ready to play another team and you have two quarterbacks who have two completely different styles, why would you go ahead and tell your opposing team which guy you're going to use? Now they have to game plan for both of them. It's strategy, I think. I imagine it's going to be Coker. I feel like everyone knows it's going to be Coker, but you still have to prepare for both of them. So I think it's going to be a game time decision.
Game time decision. I think we're 23, 22 days. And actually, no, Alabama.
Let's not do days because then that helps to narrow down when we did this.
Oh, goodness. Okay, we are at least 20-something days away.
There's a 20 in there, yes.
From Alabama football. Alabama football, as Tony Giles likes to say, inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. NFL camps have opened, I guess, as well, have they not?
They have.
Yeah. Are you excited about that, Mr. NFL over football guy?
Over college?
Over college football guy?
I am very excited about it. It just basically means we're that much closer. Like this past weekend was the first weekend with a football game. And now we will not have another weekend without some sort of football until February. And while not necessarily all good football, at least there's football every week.
Well, speaking of not good football, I put out on this opinion of mine that you read earlier. Preseason football is awful, and I can't stand it. And I don't think it should be televised. I think it should be like squad scrimmages inside the stadium. Figure out who you want in those settings. Don't put it on TV and take up 2 hours of programming for awful football.
Well,
I get the entertainment side of it, but I cannot stand it.
there are very few times in this podcast of ours that we've actually disagreed.
Yeah, that's fine. I welcome disagreement.
I know, it's actually kind of nice because it means we can actually debate on something. I disagree with you on this.
Right. Debate, mean.
The thing with preseason, there's 4 games, which they are trying to limit it down to 2, but that's because they're trying to grow the regular season. But game 3, for anyone who doesn't care about preseason, is really the only game you need to care about because that's basically the one where the starters are going to stay in most of the game. It's really the closest thing you're going to get to a real football game until the season starts, and week 4 is just absolutely pointless. But in reality, what these weeks are is it's not for your star players. They're getting a little rust off of them. It's the fringe guys. It's these guys who
trying to make the roster.
Yeah,
and I get that. It's still boring to watch, and I can't stand it.
Sometimes I disagree just because I love football and I like the little nuances. I'm somebody who will sit there and watch line play, the O line versus the D line. I like to find those little things, so I'm probably not the best person to ask on that, but I don't know. You always find some interesting stories, I think, every preseason, or you accidentally, like for someone who loves fantasy, fall in love with a guy because they look great in preseason and then are terrible in the season.
And for the record, for the most part, I feel the same way about preseason basketball and preseason and spring training baseball. I don't really have, and I get it, different strokes for different folks. Mm-hmm. You know me, I enjoy really weird things and don't enjoy a lot of things that a lot of people enjoy. Like
you don't enjoy happiness. So.
That's true. And I don't know, I have no desire much of watching a ton of NBA preseason or watching spring training. It just doesn't really appeal to me. I mean, it's not the real thing. You're not really playing for. Yeah. I guess that's the thing for me is I like to know that there's something that they're building towards, and for those individuals, they're building towards that roster spot. But for me as the entertainer or entertainment person who's consuming it.
I think, and I agree with you on the basketball and baseball, and I care less about preseason there. But I am such a, especially NFL, and to me, it's like, it's such a limited season, even though it's a year-round topic nowadays. But I just like watching it, and I don't care what form it is. Sometimes there's something I like to have on in the background as I'm just scrolling through Twitter, reading overreactions, like people saying, "Is Sammy Watkins a bust after only playing like one series?"
Is he?
Do you even want to go in the bust argument? No.
I kind of do with you because you mentioned that earlier this week that someone said that somewhere on some unnamed radio station, and
has a couple letters in it.
Yeah, and it frustrated you. So, what frustrated you about that? Because I like the bust topic in general.
Well, one, how can you even foregoing the fact whatever a bust is? Because that in itself is a definition that's not really. To me, the only way you can truly be a bust is if you don't ever even show up to practice. To me, that's what a bust is. Someone who just doesn't show up.
Yeah.
And for someone who is the 4th pick overall for a team that has, it's not like they have a great quarterback. No offense to EJ Manuel, they don't have a great quarterback in play. And the one throw you see to him is overthrown, and he's not necessarily getting off of his blocks and stuff. It's his first professional football game. Be it preseason, it's his first game. And you're telling me you can already say, "Oh, is this guy going to be a bust?" What have you ever been really good at something the first time you try it?
This isn't the first time you tried it.
On that level?
But you didn't. Well, Halo 2.
I think we're on a different topic.
I was good at Halo 2 the first time I played it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Killing streak.
Oh, Slayer.
But no, I understand it's probably just one of those topics, and it's that time of year where you're just trying to get some interaction on social media and things. But how in the world can you ask that question after one preseason game? Was it a shock jock that said it? I don't know who said it, to be honest with you. I just know it came from this particular organization.
Gotcha. I think I hate the concept of a bust in general, like you just mentioned, because you're basically saying you are not successful and you are labeled this derogatory term if you do not live up to the standards of excellence that others who may have lived up to what some outward person has labeled as a standard for excellence for them. If you don't live up to that, you're a bust. And I think that's dumb.
Yeah.
If you're a professional athlete and you're playing in a professional league and you're making a ton of money, I can't stand the concept of a bust.
Well, and I think too the problem is now rather than really see and look at trends, you compare them to the outliers. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are going to compare it to Keenan Allen this year because Keenan Allen had a really good rookie year, or a lot better rookie year than most people thought he would have had. The average wide receiver in the NFL takes about 2 to 3 years. Because think about it, you have to get completely acclimated to a new offense. You're going against people much bigger than you're used to. Even if you're a freak of nature, you're still going against people you're not used to playing. It's not something that happens overnight. And the fact that there's so many organizations or so many people who immediately want to see results quickly nowadays, it hurts more than it helps, I think.
I was gonna make that point in reference to the NBA. You know, people were so quickly labeling Anthony Bennett this past season as a bust because he didn't live up to number one pick standards in the first half of the season before the shutdown and then before he came back. But it's so stupid to me that you can't give these players a little bit of grace and understand that they're adjusting from a college game that is not played at that speed and not played at that level of talent, with that level of talent. Give them a little bit of grace and realize it might take some people more than one half of a season or even 1 or 2 years to get to where they can be playing like a number one pick. Like, what are people going to do if the number one pick from this NBA draft, Andrew Wiggins, doesn't show up and doesn't make an impact on the Minnesota Timberwolves?
I clearly thought he played for Cleveland.
Oh no, not after August 23rd. Apparently.
So if we were recording this, say after August 23rd or 24th, he'd probably be at Timberwolves.
Most likely.
No, I agree with you. I think Tavon Austin had a good quote this past year. Tavon Austin was the 8th overall pick in last year's draft from the Mountaineers of West Virginia to St. Louis. He said the first time he cracked open the playbook, it was like Spanish to him because you're coming from a system that's completely different. A lot of times too, if you're coming from an offense or a defense that's very different than the one you're about to go into, you have to basically start over. You know, it's not, you can't just get off with with just your physical ability anymore. You're surrounded by people just like you. You have to adapt. And honestly, the only person I could really think of, and this just in sports in general, the last person I could think of who really actually lived up to every single bit of hype from day one just went back home to Cleveland. Like, that's the only person I could think of in the last 10 years that really genuinely lived up to everything that was billed about them. What are you doing?
Oh, sorry, just refreshing my tweets because I was reading one about the person that you were just referencing.
Because I was trying to segue.
And I was trying to make it hard for you. LeBron James, some photos were released this week. Apparently, he has cut carbs, I believe, and is now kind of skinny, as we've seen in photos, compared to what he looked like, I guess, in, what was it, June, when the NBA Finals concluded?
Yeah, about 6 weeks.
Yeah, which, based on how he looks, it's kind of incredible that he would have been able to do that, lose that much weight in that short amount of time. But then again, in this modern day and age where athletes have access to so many different things. I'm sure he's been involved in an impressive workout regimen, and
I don't think it's the working out. I think it's just he
a diet, obviously.
Yeah, he tried to do what Ray Allen did last summer. I think it was just straight paleo, i.e. not eating Taco Bell. And
lame.
He dropped I think like he said 10 pounds. It doesn't look like 10. And granted, it could just be those pictures.
Right.
But
and a lot of the speculation is, now that the Cavaliers are most likely, knock on all types of wood. Well, we don't really need to knock on wood because we're both not Cavs fans, but most likely it looks like they're going to land Kevin Love. So part of the reason why he was, so motivated to gain all that weight and become a force and look the way he did in Miami was because he was going to have to play a lot of power forward. And now he may not have to do that. He may be able to go back and be a small forward who can play power forward, but be a really, 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 really talented small forward, and take that weight off. Another idea about it is he's about to turn 30, I believe, close to it, and these are the times where you need to, as an athlete, if you want to prolong your career, you need to be taking steps to make sure you're not putting too much added stress on your body, your knees, your legs, everything.
Well, he admittingly had a sluggish start last year, but he earned that because he got married last, I think, September. But
yeah,
I think most people can give him a break to allow him to get married.
Absolutely not.
He's going to gain the weight back because you can't go through the season without eating carbs. It's just it's not possible. But I think it's something that it's good because it'll kind of keep him fresh now and get him a little more in game shape early, and just have him kind of. He had a bunch of back problems and things like that early last year, and I think some of it can be attributed to the fact that he wasn't in his normal shape. So I just think this is something that, in the long run, he's going to end up looking like the LeBron we remember from 6 weeks ago, or 7 or 8, whenever this was recorded. But right now, I think it's just all conditioning and something to get him ready for next year.
I'm excited for it. I really am really excited to see what the Cavs can put together on the court this season. I've been able to watch a little bit. I guess there's only really been one game at the time this was recorded of the Team USA scrimmage.
Or has there been?
And Derrick Rose looks amazing. Has looked amazing in camp, apparently. So it's going to be a fun Eastern Conference. Paul George, obviously, will not play this season.
Why is that? I haven't seen any games with Paul George this year.
He suffered a gruesome
I'm totally kidding.
injury.
Please don't go there.
Okay.
Don't go there.
You asked. We were being literal. I figured I would.
Whatever.
Let's just move on to our final thing that we decided to do on the Room for Improvement podcast, because we're always searching for ways to improve this podcast because we named ourselves the Room for Improvement podcast. I would like to know what your favorite awful band of all time is.
So you're literally saying like a band that's awful.
Widely regarded as a band that should not be enjoyable.
Oof. See, when I looked at your rundown here, I just figured that was you writing the way you write, as if you wanted me to tell you my favorite band. And then you're just...
Your favorite stupid band.
A favorite awful band.
Because I've got one, and it's like it's a
I'm kind of
guilty.
curious to hear yours, because I need to think about it. Because like a part of me is like, do I have one band? Because it's like songs or something.
Okay, well, see, mine kind of... It took me years to realize that this was really a really awful band that people couldn't stand, because I liked them when I was in school. I guess it was middle school, high school time. And I was in 2 different garage-esque bands. Played at some talent shows across the rural East Tennessee area. Yeah. And we included some of their songs in our set, and that band is... Scott Stapp was in that band. It's a band called Creed.
Wait, they're considered awful?
Apparently. I've heard plenty of people say, I can't stand Scott Stapp. Higher, With Arms Wide Open, My Sacrifice.
But don't you like somebody who can sing that low for no apparent reason?
Well, I don't know.
Girls. My sacrifice.
Oh, goodness.
I think that's literally all we can get away with.
What was...
I've done them in karaoke a few times, by the way.
They're good karaoke music.
They are, because I feel like the best karaoke songs are awful.
Which I guess is why it was okay for a garage band to do it and seemingly do it okay, because it was just easy karaoke type music.
I've learned that, by the way. Like, I think the best karaoke songs are from awful bands, because then you know someone's not really taking it seriously. Like, it's the person who goes up there and tries to do the real song,
Yeah.
and they're not doing it very good. Yeah, but if you're up there doing a bad song, no one cares if you're bad.
Have you thought of yours yet? You're going to say Blink-182, and I'm going to get mad because I like Blink-182.
I like Blink-182. I wouldn't say that. They're terrible live, though.
Why would I say that? You know who else is terrible live? Yellow Card.
I'm not shocked, but they're back, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if anyone asked, but they're back.
Thanks for telling me.
I saw that on the Twitterverse yesterday. Favorite awful band? Gosh, I really like 80s stuff. To the point where I wouldn't say it's one band, but I could probably like make a whole playlist of bad 80s songs for you. I do love me some Baltimora Tarzan song. It's probably one of the worst songs ever made, but it's phenomenal. Gosh, that's a good question. Because like my staple karaoke would probably count, because I go Backstreet Boys. But I'm sure there's a lot of people who probably still listen to them for nostalgic reasons. They're not good. Their songs are terrible.
Who, the Backstreet Boys?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was never allowed to listen to them, nor did I really have a desire to.
You shouldn't have a desire to listen to them. They're terrible.
Going back to Creed, though, I think one redeeming thing about them was they were able to get that, they were able to get that higher song into Titan AE, the movie. And so now every time I watch Titan AE,
That's the redeeming quality. It's Titan AE.
I get to hear that
You're
song.
the one.
I'm the one.
Somewhere Matt Damon just sat up going, someone just say Titan AE?
And I just said every
Just get $1.15?
I just said every time I watch Titan AE, as if I do it quite frequently.
What if?
Oh, can you tell me higher?
It's sad. Like, I think I can like do at least part of the chorus for every one of their songs.
Ugh.
There's like these bands that like, I can't think of just one band that's their whole catalog. But like, you have like a band like Default, who I was like really into my freshman year of high school. And I remember somebody telling me like, this band's terrible. I'm like, they're named Default. What do you expect of them? Oh, no.
Are you backpedaling?
I'd argue they're actually a good band, but I feel like most people would hate them.
Okay.
The Darkness. That's probably my favorite awful band.
You brought that up to me before. You
Yes.
have brought that up to me before, and you played a couple of songs, and I was like, this is tolerable. Like, I wouldn't shut this off immediately.
Yeah, they're a band that literally should have been born 15, 20 years earlier, but I love them. They're so bad in so many good ways.
Sound like you're talking about a substance that you shouldn't be using.
Taco Bell?
Yeah.
What if?
Oh, goodness. Oh, well, that's going to wrap up this structureless edition.
What about your last question? We got time.
Oh, fine.
We have time, man.
Least favorite awful movie, and that actually means awful movie.
I watched it again this weekend.
Okay.
It's probably one of my favorite movies, but it's terrible. It's D2, The Mighty Ducks.
Oh, that's a very bad movie.
It's so bad if you really think about it, but man, I love it. And like, I know so many people when they talk Mighty Ducks think 1 and 3 are really good.
Yeah.
I don't understand why no one thinks 2 is. They literally are representing this country. They're going against Iceland, who basically is playing Germany. They're Germany. I don't understand why they had to be called Iceland. They're Germany. Nothing about them is like, everything about them, like their accents, their names. I understand those can be also Icelandic. They're basically playing Germany.
I love when they pronounce Iceland in the huddle, and they're like, Iceland.
Iceland.
And I'm like, oh, you're...
Unsa.
Goodness.
That's right. I can quote that entire movie.
Mine is a movie that I have gotten in a lot of trouble with my friends for talking about when I say that I like it because they disagree. And I'm talking about Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Ugh.
I love it.
Oh, God.
I love it. Like, I can't not watch it if it's on television, which I don't have cable anymore, but when I did have cable, like, I love that movie. I like Jar Jar Binks. You know what? I'm here to confess. I like Jar Jar Binks, and nobody else does. And that is my that's my favorite awful movie.
Here's what you need to do. I'm not going to argue that because I liked it as a kid.
Okay.
And I actually own it on Blu-ray because they had that pack that has like all 6 movies in it. You need to go to the theater.
You need to go home and rethink your life.
No, I'm not saying that. No. You need to go to the theater this weekend.
Okay.
You need to see Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
Because that's what that's what episode 1 should have been.
Okay.
And then rethink your stance.
Is Guardians of the Galaxy a Star Wars movie?
It should have been.
Oh, well.
It's not, but it's basically a lot of the same ideas. There's a Han Solo and Chewie-esque character, except Han Solo's a raccoon and Chewie's a tree.
Speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy, another great, awful movie, Galaxy Quest.
Okay, first off, don't call that awful. Second off, don't call Galaxy Quest awful. Galaxy Quest is surprisingly good.
Never give up. Never surrender.
My favorite character in that's Sam Rockwell because he's like the red shirt in Star Trek lore, as in like he's the one that always died in the show, so he's always terrified. He's like, you're not gonna die. This is real.
That is a good movie. I may have to watch that this weekend. You think Redbox has that anywhere? Probably not.
I feel like Netflix has it.
Really?
I want to say I've seen it on Netflix.
Well, maybe I'll search for that. That does wrap up this structureless episode of Room for Improvement here on WIAT.
It's a rather structured way to end this structureless episode.
Well, we have been going at this for probably 4 or 5 months now, so we've learned how to shut down these shows and realize when we need to shut up. And I think this is the time for us to shut up. Before you shut up, do you have any ways for the people to follow you on the social medias?
They can find me on Twitter at Sebastian Posey. I don't really feel like I need to spell it because at some point I think it just gets tedious. But hey, if you really want to find me, I'm not that hard to find.
I am not that hard to find either. Joshua Zavadil. I'll let you figure out how to spell my last name because I usually do it all the time on this podcast, and I'm not going to do it this time.
Is that what's going to hurt us in the long run in our careers? Is that our names aren't the easiest to spell on Twitter?
Like, what do you mean? Like, our success is going to be dependent upon people?
Like, I feel like it's easier to find, say, Joe Buck.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we're at his level, but I'm just using a name that's, like, much smaller.
I read that great thing by Josh Zafadil. Let me see if I can find it.
I get Bosey all the time.
Bosey?
Bosey.
Sebastian Bosey. Huh. Interesting.
Or Mosley. No, I don't get Mosley.
You don't get Mosley?
No.
No. I get Zavadil, Zavalid, and Daffodil.
What about Heisendil?
That's never happened. Thank you for listening to this episode of Room for Improvement. We'll be back next time whenever we decide to record another podcast.
What if?